Today I wanted to make something a little more meaningful for Easter, so I pulled out my Cricut to make this He Is Risen card. I designed the SVG file after seeing something similar online, and I love how the layered hills and cross seam came together. I'll walk you through how I cut everything with my Cricut and put it all together using cardstock and heat transfer vinyl so you can recreate it for your own Easter cards. Hey everyone, it's Lean from ColoradoLean.com. Welcome back to the craft room. Before we jump into Cricut Design Space, let's talk a little bit about the materials we're going to be using. I'm going to be using 3 colors from the Coffee and Cream paper pack, and that will be the ivory for the card base, the dark brown, and the gray. And the craft color card is also 110 pound from Recollections. For my text, I'm going to be using Cricut Everyday Iron-On. Now let's go ahead and cut down some of our cardstock. I'm going to leave the ivory card at full size, but I will be cutting down the brown and the craft. The card today will be an A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I can just cut my card at 5 1/2. Now that we have our cardstock cut, let's head into Cricut Design Space and start talking about our SVG file. Now that we're in Cricut Design Space, let's go ahead and find our file. I have already uploaded it. So I'm going to go ahead and click Upload, and under Recent Uploads, I will choose my card and then add it to the canvas. Now I'm not sure why Cricut always opens up an option menu here on the left. If it does that when you add any of your files, go ahead and click this little tab to close it. The first thing I always do when bringing a file in is I check my size to make sure it is correct. Because we're making an A2 size card, this does need to be 8 1/2 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches tall, which it is. I'm going to go ahead and ungroup, and then I'll move this section aside for now. Now you will notice here in the layers panel that I have 2 lines on my card, and these are going to be the score lines. So with one of them highlighted, I will hold my Shift key, choose the other one, and then in the operations panel, I'm going to change that from a basic cut to a score. Now the reason I have 2 score lines is because my card base is 110 pounds, and the Cricut scoring tool does not always give a very deep impression with one pass. So I am having it score it twice, but I may still need to bring my scoreboard in to increase the depth of that score. Now we need to tell the Cricut where we want those score lines. So I will again hold the Shift key, choose my card base, and then I will attach them together. So I am done with that for now, so I will move that out of the way. And I will bring in the other layers to my card and ungroup them. I am going to be changing the color of this top layer. So to kind of keep things in line with my cardstock, I am going to change that to a gray. Now you will see here that my text is on another arched layer. And the reason that this layer is here is because my initial idea for this pattern is to cut it on my Locklick eye engrave. And to do that, I needed a solid panel in the back to engrave my text on. For today's project, I'm just going to ungroup this And then I will delete this piece. With my text, I'm going to attach the two lines together. And as I mentioned before, I will be applying this to my card base with Cricut Everyday Iron-On to make weeding easier and so that I'm not wasting extra material. I am going to create a weeding box around this. So I will come to Shapes, select the square. Before I go much farther with my square, I'm going to change the color so that it will be easier to see behind the text. Unlock the aspect ratio so I can make it any size I need. And I'm going to arrange it to the back. And now I will size it to my text and center that. Now for weeding boxes, if you're not familiar with them, they don't need to be a whole lot bigger than your text, but there does need to be a little bit of extra room. So this looks good to me. So I will select them both and I will attach them. Now we are ready to save the file. So I am going to call this my He is Risen card, and I will save that and click the Make button. I will be cutting this on a 12 by 12 mat. And because my first two layers are going to be the same type of material, I will save myself a little bit of time by cutting them on the same mat. So I'm going to move this layer to the bottom right corner. I will choose the 3-button menu, move the object, and select the mat that I want to move it to. So now when I set up my first mat, I will put the gray in the upper left-hand corner and the dark brown in the lower right-hand corner. Now let's talk about mat number 3, which has our text. If you'll recall, that's going to be my Cricut Everyday Iron-On. So I want to make sure to turn on Mirror. For mat number 4, all I need to do is remember to install the Cricut Scoring Stylus. And I don't need to do anything special for mat number 5. So let's go ahead and click Continue. And I'm going to connect my Cricut Explorer Air 2. For my first layer, I'm going to choose Heavy Cardstock. I will be cutting this at the default pressure. Now that we're ready to cut our iron-on, let's go ahead and select Everyday Iron-On. When I did cut my sample, I did have a little bit of an issue. So I'm going to try using more pressure. And again, we have mirror turned on. For mat number 3, we want to come back to 100-pound cardstock and make sure that we have our scoring stylus in clamp A. Now that we have all of our pieces cut, the first thing I like to do is use my bone folder to kind of smooth over the cut edges. I don't know if you will be able to see this or not, but there is a ridge. And if you go over this with a bone folder, then it kind of flattens it out a little bit. And I think that just is a nicer look to the finished project. Okay, I was going to try and show you this score line, but today I cannot get my phone to focus on this white card. Even with the 2 passes from the scoring stylus, it did not even make a mark on the back of the card. So I'm going to bring in my scoreboard. Now this isn't lining up directly at 4 1/4. So I'm just going to shift this over so that I can keep my score line in the middle. And then I'll just make 2 light passes on that, 2 or 3. Okay. And now I can see that on the back side. So I will go ahead and fold my base and burnish it. And there is our card base. Let's talk about our text. Now, again, I did cut this on Cricut Everyday Iron-On, and I forgot how to put this on my Cricut mat. So with Everyday Iron-On, the shiny part is your carrier sheet. So when you put it on the mat, you put it shiny side down. And I did not do that. So I threw that away. And I cut a second piece. Now before I weed this out, I am going to take a brayer and just go over it. And then that way, if there are any little pieces of the letters that are sticking up, it will push it down. And I'm also going to trim away some of this extra vinyl that I don't need. And now with my pin pen weeding tool, I absolutely love this little guy. I am going to start weeding my vinyl. I do want to be careful around my eye so I don't lose that piece. So I am just going to go nice and slow. I did use extra pressure for cutting, so this should be a little bit easier to work with. But again, when I come up to my letters, I do want to go slow. When you're working with heat transfer vinyl, it's always important to turn it over and look at it to make sure you get all of the little pieces taken out and that nothing is missing. So to adhere this to my card base, I am going to use my little mini Cricut heat press. And I'm going to turn it up to medium. I do want to bring in my Cricut mat and my card base to make sure I get this lined up where I want it. I'm also going to bring in the very back layer. I will get this lined up. And then I can position my text where it needs to be. Now the backing paper is sticky, so I am able to hold that in place. And then I can just pull that piece out. To protect my card, I'm going to use some parchment paper. And my press is ready. Now this doesn't take long to do. And then I can slowly start peeling the backer off. And I want to do this slowly in case something isn't attached to the cardstock. Okay, And then I'm going to put my parchment paper back on and just give it one extra little quick going over. And then I will turn that off and set it aside to cool. And I will set my card base aside as well. Let's go ahead and start gluing our layers together. This is a pretty simple design, so it shouldn't be hard to figure out which direction is up. But I do have it the way I want it. So I'm just going to turn this top layer upside down. And then I am going to work on the bottom and the middle layer. To help me line things up correctly, I am going to bring in my Misty stamping tool. And I will place my first layer in the lower left-hand corner. And then with my Barely Art Precision Glue, I am going to glue my layers together. And now I will bring in my top layer and glue that on as well. And now finally, we just need to attach this to our card base. Now, because there was heat applied to the card, it is kind of buckling just a little bit. So I will want to pay attention to that when I put my layers on here. So I do want to apply a good amount of glue on here. And there is our finished card. I really love how this card came together, and especially how easy it was to add the text using the Cricut Everyday Iron-On. The matte finish keeps it subtle and doesn't draw any extra attention away from the final design. The SVG file is available as a free download. Go ahead and check the link down in the description, or you can also find it over on the corresponding blog post at coloradolean.com. I've brought the original card back in so you can see how the design looks with a black top layer instead of the gray. And if you wanted to add a little extra detail, you could easily enhance the layers with some light ink blending. Thank you so much for spending some creative time with me today. If you enjoyed this project, I'd love it if you'd give the video a thumbs up. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next tutorial. I'll see you soon.